All right, so today I am going to take you for a tour of my menagerie. This is my reptile room, but that's what a lot of people call it. But I have more than just reptiles in here, so menagerie is definitely more the appropriate term for what I got going on in here. I do share my home with a lot of animals. I have a spare bedroom that I basically use as a reptile room or to house my collection of animals. And I'm going to go through them and show you all what I got because a lot of people don't see this part of my life or whatever, don't really know. We're going to start out with the snakes and the reptiles. So this is Snaky. Snaky is the first snake that I had in my home. It is approximately 16 years old. It belonged to somebody that I used to live with. And when I got into reptiles, she figured I'd be better off taking care of this animal. It's approximately 5.5 feet long, 16 years old. A lot of people don't realize snakes in captivity with good care will live upwards of 20 years. So that's a major problem with snakes, is that people don't realize that they get this little tiny baby snake at a pet store for next to nothing, and then within the span of a couple of years it's going to turn into something that's 6 feet long and requires quite a bit of enclosure. Sunshine here is a perfect example of what happens when you don't give an animal the proper care that it needs at the beginning of its life. It really was horribly mishoused, and when I found it, it was on Craigslist, and somebody had basically, they were just trying to recoup a little bit of money that they had into it, but the snake didn't have anything that it needed to thrive and take care, be happy. So now the snake is very, very skittish, very untrusting of humans. It generally gets agitated very easily. I've been working with it for over 2 years, and we've gotten fairly okay, but it still definitely does not behave the way that a snake of its species really should. It's a very reclusive snake. It should be something that's out and about. Rat snakes are generally known for moving about their tank, but Sunshine definitely will just hide under a rock and not come out, and doesn't want anything to do with anybody, and has a tendency to get a little bit mean. So hence the name Orange Sunshine. Its personality is a little acidic, to say the best. As I try to put, I'm giving it its home back, and it will just hide right back in there and snuggle back up under its rock. All right, so next up is Alfred Hitchcock. He's a bearded dragon. He is citrus and has all of the different desirable genes. He has the clear nails. He has the black eyes. He's really actually pretty well mannered. He doesn't beard up on me too much. He lets me handle him. I'll put him up on my shoulder. I don't take him out that much and stuff. Every once in a while, if I have the dog corralled in the bedroom or something, I'll let Alfred get a little run around the house, and he'll have a good time. He'll usually take a giant shit on the floor. That's what he's good for. Now, I kind of keep him in a semi-controversial manner on dirt. Some people do not like loose substrate. I don't care what they think. He lives in dirt, and these shelves work out really well for the most part. When he does defecate, whatever, it goes down there. Now, I feed him dubia roaches and superworms, which always have a way of getting out of his salad and down into the enclosure. And they definitely help with the cleanup around there. There's no doubt about it. I do run a good 2-foot Acadia light for him. I do believe these animals should be taken care of properly. He's got basking light, good hot spot, cooler spot, and basically all the things that a bearded dragon needs. A lot of people will do a lot less for their bearded dragons, and I'm not down with that. I think that this is honestly kind of minimal for him. I would love to see him in a much bigger enclosure, but we'll get there someday. All right, so this really is the queen of my castle. This is my baby girl, Tawny Catane. She was the first snake that I got on my own, and really the animal that started this whole collection. She's what's called a blue-eyed Lucy, or a blue-eyed leucistic ball python. Now, she's showing a little pink in her belly right now, which shows she's about to shed or getting very close to molting. So when they're like that, it's kind of like a human being having sunburn, and it's kind of an uncomfortable feeling. So I'm not going to handle her a lot, and I'm just going to get her back in her tank. But then I'm going to talk about, well, I'll talk about tanks for a quick second. A lot of reptile keepers do not recommend the use of glass fish tanks. Common saying is that fish tanks are for fish and that enclosures are for reptiles, and tanks are commonly referred to as glass coffins and such, and it is considered amateurish at best. In my situation, I am running the dedicated room for my animals, and right now in the room itself, it is currently 57% humidity and 88 degrees. So to keep the right temperature for shedding and everything like that, it's currently 57% humidity and 88 degrees in here. It's a little on the warm end of the room, but it's the middle of the daytime on a hot day. But I do typically keep it in the 50% humidity range and about 80 degrees. So the tanks themselves will have a little bit higher humidity due to the water that I mix into the substrates and stuff like that. All right, so next up on the Menagerie tour is Frank Zappa. Frank Zappa is a ball python, and he's pretty used to being handled. I got him as a small baby. He's one of the few animals in the collection that I purchased, but he was just so gorgeous, and I knew the breeder. And look at that. He has a perfect heart on his butt. How many snakes do you know with a perfect heart on their butt like Frank Zappa? But he was my baby snake. I got him as a small little baby. Pretty quick out of the egg. And he's been in my collection for a little while, and he's a good boy, and he doesn't get too feisty, very well mannered. So that's Frank Zappa. In case you didn't know, Frank Zappa had a movie, Baby Snakes, and because I got him as a baby, I named him Frank Zappa. All right, so now we're going to move on to my leopard geckos. Basically, what happened was I got Alfred, and my leopard geckos, both all in one exchange. Some guy wanted to rehome 4 bearded dragons and 2 leopard geckos. That's 6 living creatures that this guy had that he just didn't want anymore. Well, those are 6 live animals. The stuff drives me nuts. So a friend of mine ended up committing to the bearded dragons, but when I saw Alfred, I was like, whoa, dude, I'll figure it out. I'll keep him, which was a huge expense that I really wasn't ready for to build that enclosure, because this kid just had him in a 40-gallon tank with a red bulb and was like, he's all set, brah. Nah. But, so now the leopard geckos basically came from the same exchange. We're going to start out with Gigi Allen, who is aptly named because the day I got him, he pissed his shit all over me. Now, he's not a very social guy. Now, Gigi here is not a very social guy. He definitely gets a little pissy. He's an angry little dinosaur. But I love him very much. And I love his feisty attitude. And for a leopard gecko, he is giant. He is actually technically, I believe, a super giant. But I don't know anything about him breeding wise. I just got him as a rescue, and I don't plan on mating him or anything like that. And here's angry Gigi doing his Jesus Christ pose. So now leopard geckos are pretty easy to keep. He has a moist hide, a dry hide, somewhere to bask, little cave there. His calcium with D3. Now, if you supplement with D3, you don't need light. He will, I'll catch him sometimes taking a little nap over here. Doesn't usually do that unless he's very angry. That's how he tells me he's being persecuted. Gets up on his cross. But yeah, leopard geckos are fairly easy to keep and pretty cute pets. So next on the tour is little Iggy Azalea here. And she is a more normal size leopard gecko, and she was actually the one that I intended to adopt when I took on Alfred and the geckos. But she does pretty well. She's not as angry and feisty as Gigi, but they are really cool animals. And she has a pretty nice disposition. All right, so that wrapped up the part of the room that has bones, and now we're on to the stuff with no bones. This is my invertebrate collection. I have tarantulas and scorpions. I really don't have anything else at this time. There's some stuff I might be into, but kind of got my hands full right now. I'm not going to go through really pulling all these apart, but just to give you an idea, Eeyore here is a green bottle blue tarantula, and it's in the back and being skittish. Now, for the most part, I don't handle my tarantulas. I don't take them out and play with them. I don't cuddle with them. They don't like play fetch. A lot of people will question me about that. Why keep an animal that you can't snuggle with or whatever? Honestly, even the snakes are kind of comforting to just sit there and relax and let the snake crawl on you or whatever. You don't get any of that with tarantulas or scorpions. But you know what? People keep goldfish. they will put a thing full of water inside their house that gets skanky and nasty, and an animal shits in it and just drinks that water, and people act like that's normal. These are just spiders. They're all over the house to begin with. Who am I to be weird? But anyway, so, one of the things that's interesting about spider, keeping tarantulas and stuff like that, you don't need to do these beautiful, elaborate enclosures like the one I did for this bird eater here that just went hiding in the back. But, you don't need all this. In many cases, the spider will be just as happy in some dollar store Tupperware. Same species, equal happiness. The spider doesn't care. So I really do all this for me. But I do like to do my enclosures a little bit nicer than some other people or whatever. I do care for these animals. They are my pets. They're not going to snuggle with me, but I still name them, and I feed them, and I dote over them, and I think they're beautiful, and I take pictures of them like most people do about their other pets. And speaking of pictures, actually, this is a picture of a P. Miranda that my friend Lindy Lou, who's an artist, painted, and she sells prints, and she actually does customs of people's animals too. So if you really had an animal and you wanted somebody to paint you a picture of it, this chick does that. Hit me up, I'll give you her details. But I'm gonna I'll probably end up just making a few pictures of some of the different stuff here rather than going through all the stuff. It is actually like 90 degrees in here and 60 degrees humidity. I'm not going to pull out every spider and be like, ooh, spider. There's lots of them. Know me. Hey, you know what? Be cool enough to come over to my house. I'll show you all of them. We can feed them. It'll be awesome. We'll water them. Ask my friends, the few that I have. But anyway, that more or less is the menagerie, or my reptile room. And which is more than just a reptile room, because honestly there's more invertebrates in here than reptiles. I'm going to show you one more enclosure before I let you go, but it's not in this room. So this is my home office, and I actually have some creatures that I'm boarding right here for a friend who's moving, but this is my giant day gecko enclosure. And I have a very spoiled, very angry little green lizard that lives in there. And there she is. There she is. But she's a fast one. And man, she's gotten out a couple times. And this thing is a high security area. But that's all live plants in there with different bugs to clean up after it and everything. And I spend a lot of time on that enclosure. And it's definitely a joy for me. And just while we're here, because I am boarding the largest species of tarantula, that is a Goliath bird eater, a Theraposa blondie. That's probably still finishing up a roach I gave it earlier, but is here boarding. Now that's a juvenile. So I hope you enjoyed your tour of my menagerie and checking out my animals and stuff, and I'll actually give you a sneak preview. That spider that I showed you that was in the Tupperware there, this is going to be its new home, tarantula towing. And I think it's going to be a good time. It needs more substrate though. But thanks for watching. Take care of animals and yourselves. Just remember, these things are not consumer commodities. They're living creatures. A lot of these
animals were just like abandoned or people moved on. If you ever need an animal, there's probably not a lot of good reasons to go out there and purchase them from like stores. There's a lot of rehomes out there. Ask somebody in the hobby. A lot of people know somebody that either, if they don't know of a rehome, they know of an animal that's been ethically bred. And it does make a very big difference. There's a lot of hobby breeders out there that aren't trying to like be rich off of just cranking out animals. That are just doing it because they love their animals and they just want to propagate them or whatever. I am going to be pairing my snakes at some point. There will be a couple babies that will be let out to very few people, and it's probably not you. But thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed, and take care of yourselves and your animals.